For most guys who are just getting into kettlebell training, one of the first exercises that they're typically exposed to is the two-handed kettlebell swing. It's probably the most sort of symbolic exercise when it comes down to kettlebell. And a lot of people swear by it. A lot of people sort of describe all of the benefits and surprising benefits of doing the kettlebell swings in terms of building muscle, losing fat, preserving muscle, building an overall lean, muscular physique. Now, from my own personal experience, I think the two-handed kettlebell swing is probably the most overrated kettlebell exercise. Now, let me explain. A lot of people say that one of the biggest benefits of the two-handed kettlebell swing is sort of being able to essentially use it as a conditioning tool while at the same time preserving muscle, right? A lot of people say this. It's almost like the magic cardio tool. But from my personal experience, you'd have to be doing so many of them, like the 1,000 kettlebell swing challenge or whatever, you want to do hundreds of swings every day. And the first thing you'll notice almost immediately is that your hand will start to tear up before your body gets tired, actually. So because the connection between your body and the kettlebell, is really reliant on this point in your hands. Even though you're using heavy kettlebells, it doesn't matter. When you swing the kettlebell enough times, you're gonna start tearing up your hands. Obviously, you can mitigate this by using gloves and whatnot. But generally speaking, I think it's the most overrated exercise. That's the first reason. Another reason is that it doesn't allow you to maximize the potential of kettlebell training. Now, in my previous videos, I've mentioned one of the biggest benefits that is actually unique to kettlebell training is the fact that you're able to chain multiple exercises into a combo, which is also called the kettlebell complex, right? And from this point of view, the single most important and most enabling or significant kettlebell exercise is actually the kettlebell clean, because the kettlebell clean allows you to hoist the kettlebell from the ground into your rack position. And from that position, you're able to basically do almost all of the entire library of kettlebell exercises, right? You can swing it from there, you can drop it and clean it again, you can sort of do an overhead press, you can do windmills, you can hold it up on the overhead position and do a Turkish get up or whatever it is, right? So the kettlebell clean is actually much more important than the kettlebell swing. And I think it's not highlighted enough in sort of social media and fitness, because a lot of people, when they talk about the kettlebells, they always refer to the two-handed swing. Now, that is not the same with the one-hand single kettlebell swing. Okay, because the one-hand kettlebell swing actually allows you to chain it into multiple moves, right? Basically, you can do a kettlebell swing and then you sort of transition into a clean, for example, or you can do a hand-to-hand swing, a hand-to-hand clean. So it actually is a much more versatile exercise that allows you to combine and chain multiple different moves using a single kettlebell. Arguably, you can do the same thing with a two-handed swing. So for example, you do a two-handed kettlebell swing and then you transition into a single-handed kettlebell swing. But the fact of the matter is that you have to transition into a single-handed swing in order for you to be able to chain it into a clean or a snatch or any other kettlebell exercises. Okay, so it just comes from my own personal experience. I actually, I was looking at my overall workout for the past sort of year or so, and I don't put a two-handed swing in any of my workouts. And I realized the reason why I did that is because it's actually quite limiting in terms of the movement pattern. Yes, it does train the hinge movement pattern, but you can gain the same benefit, if not more, by using the single-handed version of it. which then you can chain into, again, the clean and press or squat or reverse lunge or anything else. So I almost never include the conventional two-handed kettlebell swing into my workouts. Now, sometimes if I want to do a sort of explosive hinge-based movement, what I would do is I do a two-handed kettlebell swing, and I usually like to do it in the dead stop version. So on each rep, I set the kettlebell down, and then I explode as much as possible with a two kettlebell version. The double kettlebell swing is a very explosive exercise because you can really load up the weight by using two kettlebells. And it's not something that you really want to do for high reps the way that you would typically do on the single kettlebell two-handed version. The double kettlebell dead stop swing is something that you would want to do on a low repetition and focus on explosivity. It's different from the two-handed swing, which you can do, 30, 40, 50 reps in one set, maybe even more, and try to do 1,000 a day or something like that, or hundreds and hundreds of swings a day. Okay, so that's it for the video. I just want to share my thoughts on probably the most emblematic and popular kettlebell exercise, and I think it's kind of overrated. There are other exercises that are much more useful and beneficial when it comes down to kettlebell training. Okay, so that's it for the video, guys. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.